Hi, I'm Annie Hamilton and I'm here chatting with Milky. I mean, I grew up playing music at school and stuff. I did piano lessons and I played clarinet and saxophone and started playing guitar when I was about 12. But I was always just really shy and really self-conscious, and I never played in front of anyone. I didn't know any friends in high school that I could have a band with or anything. So it was very much just me playing in my bedroom by myself. And then when I finished school, I started playing with some friends, Liz and Hannah, who we ended up forming the band Little May. We started off just playing heaps of little pub gigs and open mic nights and friends parties until we got some songs together and started releasing things, and all the touring picked up and stuff. So yeah, had a few years in Little May, and then I left after the first album to pursue my solo music and fashion label, and here we are. I'm constantly writing, but I really like to think about the collection of songs and the songs as a body of work. So I love albums. I'm a real album person. I love listening to albums in full instead of just so I didn't really want to just keep pumping out singles or just have, songs coming out randomly. I wanted them to be kind of a cohesive collection that tells a story. And I had been working on building up a bank of songs to do that for a while. And then when the pandemic hit, I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll actually just ditch everything I've got so far and start again and start with a blank canvas and try and make something that's really from the get-go, thinking of it as a cohesive body of work. So that's how the album started. The album is called The Future Is Here, but it feels kind of like the past. And I mean, when I think about it now, to me, it's a lockdown album. It just makes me, when I started writing it, I was like, oh, I'll make a kind of time capsule to document what's happening, or how I'm feeling about everything and how people around me are feeling about everything that was happening, because it was so weird. But then it kind of just took on a life of its own and ended up becoming something it's not specifically about lockdown or anything. It's more just I think what happened in the process of me making it was I ended up building this kind of parallel universe dream world that was a bit of an escape, or a lot of the time when I write, I'm kind of drawing from memory and nostalgia and pulling together lots of little images in my songs to kind of paint a picture and set the scene and tell the story. So yeah, it kind of just came together through a lot of time spent on my own and a lot of trial and error and experimentation, because I had the time. Whereas normally I'd kind of write songs and then play them with the band a few times, and then if they felt good live, we'd record them. Whereas this was a really different process, because it was I'm going to sit in a room by myself all day, every day for months and just see what happens. Now when I listen back, I think mostly I'm really proud of it, because it was a really hard time. It's been a really hard time for everyone. Everyone's had different things going on in their lives. Obviously, it's been a very tumultuous time. So I'm mostly just proud that I managed to kind of see it through to the end, because there were definitely times when, during the process where I was just this is terrible. What am I doing? I should just delete it all and set my laptop on fire and find a new career path. And there were times when I just thought it would never be finished, or I'd never I don't know, there's so many songs or projects that I have that I've started and never finished. So I was I just don't want it to be one of those things that never gets finished. So I'm proud to have finished it, and I love it, and I'm really excited to share it, because even if it's weird and I don't know, feels like a kind of weird meandering path down this kind of through this portal that I kind of have imagined, and I don't know if I'm I hope people like it, but even if they don't, that's fine, because I love it. Sonically, a lot of the production came through just pure experimentation. And I'm like not technically amazing at production. I'm self-taught, and a lot of the production that I did on the album was me just like sitting there in my bedroom experimenting on Logic and stuff. And I have pretty limited gear, but I think like I'm a big believer that the more limitations you have, the more creative you can be, because it really forces you to go outside the box and think of creative ways to like get over the limitation. So yeah, a lot of it just came from me sitting there playing with like trying to find cool sounds through my different guitar pedals and like synths and stuff. And then like some songs were kind of born from like me just playing around finding sounds, and then I'd find a cool sound and that would inspire a song. But I really wanted it to be an evolution from my EP and from my earlier work, and I wanted every song to feel different. I didn't want to have the same sounds in every song. I didn't want there to be two songs that sounded the same. And I wanted there to be moments of like lightness and moments of darkness, and then moments where it feels very I was definitely trying to push it more and find those extremes and figure out how I could like tell the stories through the sounds as well as the lyrics. I think my favourite song on the album is Whirlwind, which is the closing track. I hope that it makes people cry. Or not I hope that people cry, but I don't know. It's like the song that's like the most emotional kind of like release. And it feels like it kind of like I wrote it very quickly and it just felt like it really arrived. And most of what's on the album is the very initial demo and the first vocal takes that I recorded when I was writing it. So it felt very just like it just happened and I captured it, which was really cool. So I think Whirlwind would be one. Labyrinth is another one that I'm really excited to share because it feels like the darkest point in the album. It was the last one I wrote chronologically, and it kind of came from just experimenting with different sounds, and then I felt like I kind of arrived at this new sound that really excited me. It does feel like it's an evolution from my previous work, and that it's kind of like me exploring a new sonic landscape. And Labyrinth and Whirlwind are probably like the opposite points. And then Again is a good one because that really feels like, I don't know, I love like a long cinematic slow burn. And that's just like a 5-minute slowly building into all these lush layers and kind of taking these twists and turns. And that's what I love doing in songs. So that would be one that feels like a good one for people to hear. I'm really proud of the opening lyrics to Providence Portal, which is the opening track. I wanted that song to really set the scene of the album and to kind of draw... Like if you're listening to it for the first time, it feels like you're kind of coming on the journey and really diving in with me. So the first kind of verse of that, which I wrote when I was driving down this dirt road, I was after the bushfire season, so it was all burnt out and it was just like black logs and it felt very surreal, and I had no phone reception and it was very isolated and there was no one else around, and it really felt like being in this like totally parallel universe. And I always picture the album as being like a drive down this dirt road where you then kind of like take this weird turn and go through a portal and end up in this like weird other landscape where the album takes place. So yeah, lyrically I think Providence Portal is what I want. Like I would love people to listen to the lyrics and feel like they're being carried away. I think the visuals are so important, and also I just love the visuals. Like to me, the album, like the music is the hard part, and then the visuals is the fun part. The visuals are the part where I can, again, like help tell the story, because I'm a very visual person, and I think it's so important when you hear something. Or when I hear something, whatever I see at the same time, that first impression is kind of what lodges it in your brain. So I really love releasing my music videos at the same time as my songs to really set the scene and communicate. I feel like it helps me to communicate what I'm trying to say in the song if I can also show the colours and the textures and help, again, paint the picture. So the video, or the most recent one, was All the Doors Inside My Home Are Slamming Into One Another. another long title. I filmed that on a handycam, just like in selfie mode, walking through my house in slow motion. And it felt like the song felt to me like this really intimate. I imagine the song being like I'm pacing around my house, and it's all about kind of like these things that you don't want to admit to yourself. So you distract yourself with all the kind of little things, but then like you can't really escape the deeper stuff. So it felt like the video needed to be really intimate, which was like scary because it was like, here's my face for 5 minutes on a very close-up camera. But I don't know, it did feel like the video needed to be a really intimate kind of like, it needed to feel like I was like FaceTiming someone who I'm really close with. I'm so excited about the live shows. I'm also a bit, I'm in the process now of figuring out how to play the album live, because it is, there are so many, like, as I said before, the way I used to do set up the live show was just like classic rock band, and we would play the songs heaps before we actually recorded them. So now that I've recorded this whole album, never played any of the songs live because it was locked down, and explored all these different sounds. And there are some songs on there that just don't even have any guitars, and normally I just play guitar, so I'm like, what am I going to do? How am I going to do this? But I am really excited to be working through figuring out how to set it up as a live show, and also I like thinking of the live show as something separate from the album. So I'm not trying to make it sound exactly like the album. I want it to be its own experience, and to, again, take the twists and turns that the album has and have those moments of like everything stripped back and maybe it's just me singing, and then moments where it's like this huge wall of sound, full band, all-encompassing experience. So I'm in the process of figuring it out. When I'm performing, I think I'm most of the time, or when I'm in like the zone, I'm literally just thinking about the songs, and I'm thinking about what I'm saying. And then every now and then I have moments where I'm like, wait, stop and appreciate it. And that's when I kind of look at people and I'm like, whoa, this is so cool that I get to do this. And it's so cool that I get to stand on stage and sing songs people are watching. And then I have a moment of like really being in the moment and appreciating it. But then I kind of go back into, I think I need to go back into focus mode of like, what am I saying? Because otherwise it feels like I'm just singing the words in like just going through the motions, and it doesn't, like, it's more important, I think, to be like not focusing on singing it perfectly or playing it perfectly, but focusing on like getting the message across. Sometimes my general way of listening to music is like I find like one song and I listen to it on repeat for like weeks, and anyone who's around me is like, shut up. But I think when I was making this album, I was listening to kind of like all sorts of really different things. Like I go to Beach House, are one of my favorite all-time bands. They're kind of my go-to if I'm like, I don't know what to put on, just put on Beach House. And then kind of a lot of the like 90s dream poppy kind of stuff like Cocteau Twins. Then I love The National. Sufjan Stevens is definitely a lifetime influence. Björk. Definitely. Maybe, like, I actually haven't listened to it for a long time, but Sufjan Stevens' Age of Odds. Avril Lavigne. Maybe seeing the National live is, like, pretty amazing. I think it was Shania Twain. Spice Girl. Batty Spice. I think the most memorable show that I've played that I can think of right now was my first show back after lockdown in January, which was at the Factory Theatre for Young Henrys. And it was just, I just had like the whole time I was like, this is the best thing that's ever happened to me. I mean, I just love like anything 80s. So like, or like 80s dance music, but you know, stuff like I love you always, forever, near and far. Taylor Swift. Dear future self, stop caring so much and just do it. Just do what feels good. I think I always wanted to be a musician when I was like sitting on my bed playing my guitar as a kid. I never thought it was possible. It didn't seem like a realistic thing to pursue, which is why I didn't pursue it for so long. But I was like, whoa, that would be so cool.